church at Galatia had found themselves in a very difficult situation, a very bad spot. See, on the one side, they had everything that Paul had taught them about Jesus and about the gospel, about salvation by faith and by grace and faith in Jesus Christ alone. That's it. And then on the other side, they had the Judaizers who were leading them into confusion. I can't stop but think that, that is one of Satan's favorite tools, is confusion. He wants to confuse the church. So he introduces doctrine in churches that are not right, that are against Scripture. He introduces feelings and emotions in relationships that destroy, in marriages, in families, in friendships. He wants to separate. He locks us down. He masks us up. I'm not talking about the mask you see us wearing. He makes us put on our own mask when we're around other people that we should be openly honest about who we really are. And obviously, some people will say that the masks are of Satan. They could be. I don't know. But what I do know is the end result is what he likes: confusion, separation, division. But the Galatian church is uncertain. Who do we do? What do we do? Do we stay here? Or, these guys sound right. They sound valid. They're smart. They tell us things we like to hear. And due to that uncertainty, they're not just following the Judaizers. They're beginning to return back to their idolatry. You got to understand, at the Greco-Roman times, idolatry was rampant. It's always been rampant, really. It goes all the way back. We'll talk a little bit about the Israelites. It was rampant when they came out of Egypt and went into the desert amongst the Israelites. Idols were everywhere. Now, I'll argue that there's idols everywhere today. They just aren't, stone statues that look like this. There are a lot of other idols in this world. But open idolatry was rampant in the Greco-Roman world. And it was comfortable. It was easy. But the problem is that the Galatian church, what they were doing, they weren't just returning to another theology or another philosophy. They're returning to slavery. And we're just as guilty of that today. As creatures of habit, and that's what we are, we tend to return to what we know, what we're comfortable with. Especially when it seems that things are getting tough, things are getting difficult in our lives. What do? We go back to the comfortable. I don't know about you, but when I get stressed, I like to be comforted. So what do? Give me a pint of ice cream, man. I'm telling you, it's comfortable. I don't care if it's vanilla. I'll make something out of it. It brings me joy for the moment. Until I get on the scale the next morning. Or the next 2 days later. Usually it's 2 days later. I'm like, man, shouldn't have eaten that ice cream. A little late now, buddy. But we do. We return to what's comfortable. And we do that in our lives. How many times, you go to the same place every day for work. Do you know that there's more than one way to go to work? There's more than one path you can take to get to your job, to get to your office, to get to your store that you're working at. But what do? You take the same path every day. Why? Because it's comfortable. You go into the same door. Every night, you do the same routine over and over again. You brush your hair, you brush your teeth, it's just A, B, C, and D. You don't even think about it. It's comfortable. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with all of that, but there's some things we should not be comfortable with. Because if we're not careful, we'll become like the Israelites, wanting to return to Egypt. In the book of Numbers, listen to this. I never really thought about it until I was doing this sermon. I'm like, this is interesting. Numbers 14. It says, and all the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. Now, I want you to understand, when the scripture says all, that doesn't mean that everyone down to the small child was grumbling. It just means a large portion of it. Like it says, well, the word was spread to all the world. Well, it wasn't in North America, It was to the known world. You got to understand the hyperbole there that scripture uses. So I believe there were some people who were not grumbling, but it was a vast majority of them who were. And they're grumbling against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, would that we had died in the land of Egypt. Did you just hear that? Oh, I wish we would have died in Egypt. Or would that we have died in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Things had gotten tough. They were going to be attacked. It says, our wives and our little ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to one another, let us choose a leader to go back to Egypt. Now you would think that they would realize, come on, they had seen the pillar of fire and the pillar of smoke. Smoke during the day and the fire at night. It had led them in the desert. They had seen Moses part the Red Sea, or they will see it. They had seen God in Egypt do all the plagues. They had seen God kill the firstborn of everybody in Egypt, except those that had the blood on the doors and on the lintel. They had seen God's power, and yet here they are grumbling and wanting to go back to Egypt. But they don't understand that turning back is not the way forward. But going back is the easy way. Going back is easy. We've been there. We've done that. It's okay. I'm comfortable doing that. We know how to survive, and we feel comfortable in our old habits, our former ways. But the reality is that comfort, that it's like the ice cream. That feeling of comfort I get from that ice cream is a lie. You know what it is? It's sugar. That's all it is. Fooling my brain into thinking that now everything will be good because I've eaten a half gallon of ice cream. Even if it is Rocky Road. Even if it is the salted caramel. Oh. We feel comfortable in the old ways, but it lies to us. Understand, just because I take a set of shackles, a set of handcuffs, and I put fur inside and around them, they're still handcuffs even though they feel comfortable on my hand, and I'm still restricted. What's that saying? You can put a dress on a pig. It's still a pig.